What have I done? Silver Zarya on Volskaya, 1600 SR, draw. It's a draw and it's 11 minutes long. It's got to be a full double full hold, right? So you're gonna hit tab at all? I hope so.
Trust me, I tried playing tank, but can't do it. So leave it to you guys.
Turn it down a little bit.
We holding right here.
Still no tabs. Still no tab. Still no tab.
It's up to y'all. I can push forward more.
Okay.
Nice early picks. They're either gonna have to.
This is now where I have the problem with no tabs. So I wanted to see the tab just for my own personal selfishness, that I wanted to see hey, what are you running? But this is where the problem comes with tabs. Oh, I didn't mean to put that on my other monitor. Okay. That's my problem. If you do not know, the first 15 seconds of the match, you can't see either team's players. You can't see who they're playing or running. Can't see the comps. After the first 15 seconds, you can. So the second that becomes 3:45, if you could see 12 people's screens in a game, right? Let's say it was like a 4200 game. All right, we'll say 4200, just even a 4K or anywhere. And you saw all 12 people's screens at the same time, every single person on that game hit tab at 33 minutes and 45 seconds because they now have the knowledge to see what the other team is running. That's invaluable knowledge. Invaluable knowledge. If they have a Sombra, you now know that there might be a Sombra behind you.
Wait.
Okay, they just got a res.
Shields up.
Okay, where was the first bubble? I actually didn't see it because I was waiting for the tab. There it is.
Nice early picks.
Okay, so there's the first one, and I'll tell you what it is.
Okay, they just got a res.
Shields up.
Okay, so two bubbles already right off the bat with no value out of them. So this is how you bubble as Zarya. There's a few different types of ways, but here are the main ones. So you use projected typically to save people once you're at high energy. I'm going to just play so I don't have to see that. You hit one save. So typically at your high energy, you save the bubbles for other people if they're in trouble. 2, enable. So this is for when your Rhine starts doing swings. So let's say, especially in a Rhine v Rhine matchup, when your Rhine starts swinging on each other, you bubble him because 1, you are guaranteed 40 energy because they're hitting each other. 2, because your Rhine is now not going to be taking damage as he's swinging, which means he can do more, and then he's able to be safer while he's doing it. 3, this is for projected combos. So this one is mostly here with saving people. So when there's grab bomb combo and goats, you bubble yourself and someone next to you to cut off from the bomb. This one though is for the same thing for grab bomb combos or things of that nature. So in grab bomb combos, you typically have your Rhine charge out the other Reinhardt or bash to make him drop his shield. Now you can combo that. Deflect that with Boop from Lucio. You can deflect it with Diva. If she's not in it, she can fly into you. It can be Fire Striked. It can be not Fire Strike. Sorry, Shattered. It can be Whip Shotted, which keeps you from charging the other Reinhardt and getting the combo. But if you bubble your Reinhardt when he does any of these things, he is now enabled to help finish the combo, which would be the number 3. Now these are for projected bubbles. For self bubbles, so number 1 would be for energy. So this is kind of I'm just going to underline it because it's this is technically a 3-parter because they're always kind of for energy, at least in some form or fashion. So there's a way that you can bubble for energy is so if you're... Hold on. I don't know if I'm going to be able to do it well here. Maybe. So if your Rhine is here, Zarya, and his shield is like this. So what you can do is self-bubble and step right in front of his shield and stand right here. So this means he can drop his shield, which means he can start using you as a shield for a couple seconds. You absorb a lot of damage and soak it up. You get energy. And then you can move back off. That's a basic form of being able to both protect your Reinhardt and just be able to gather energy. Another energy form is if their Reinhardt is here. You know what? That's what we're doing. He has a upgraded shield. So when your Reinhardts are swinging, if you bubble your Reinhardt, this would be called a double bubble. So your Reinhardt's swinging, you bubble him, you bubble yourself and stand on top of your Reinhardt. So you're both getting hit by the Reinhardt swings. 80 energy, back off. Quick and easy way to start building energy, as well as protect the people around you. So another one would be for save. So this one is also as well as like for combos and whatnot. So like let's say the bomb's next to you, you can bubble yourself and try to protect yourself and people around you. Or if there's, you know, the same thing if there's just a bomb in the middle of the point. So like let's say, we'll go back to stat. Stat I said, okay. Let's say there's a Diva Bomb in the middle of the point, blowing up right here. And you have your team here. It's not a Reinhardt, and it's like Moira over here. I know it's a Reinhardt. Let's say it's like a Torb, all right? And you know they're behind you and they don't have a shield. You can walk up to this bomb, get as close as you can without it being inside of your bubble. Bubble yourself. And you will protect this entire area. The closer you are, the more you get out of it. So if you bubbled back here, you'd protect here. You wouldn't get nearly as much out of it. So being able to use your bubble at range, being how close you are, affects how much you get out of it. It's a couple others, I would say, but you know what? For right now, let's go with these two. So these are the best two self types of bubbles for saving others / yourself, and for energy. If you're not using those bubbles for that type of use, then you're not getting nearly what you can be getting out of Zarya. So we're at 15% energy, right?
Okay, they're going right.
Which means we're not getting nearly as much damage as we should be able to be doing, and getting as much value out of the Zarya pick. So this is the first good bubble.
They're in the room.
They might. I was gonna just say that McCree, like, we can go around and bust them from behind.
So there's something I'm noticing here. I've been noticing it for a little bit, but I'm going to let it roll a little longer, see if you're still doing it.
Watch out for their respawn, though, because...
I figured it out. Okay, so my concern was with your right clicks. You're just right clicking constantly, but not with really like a rhyme or reason. So I'll watch up until 118. We'll watch the same thing again. Just turn the volume down, I'll talk over it.
Okay.
The right clicks are pretty much just whenever they feel like it. They're not aimed at anybody. They're not looking for patterns. They're not looking to try to hit certain targets. They're just kind of used just to be used. On a Reinhardt shield, it's kind of simple because you can just lob it and it'll obviously, of course, hit, or at least it should. But once you start getting into the side room where it's much more easy targets to hit, even with this Junkrat here, it's just mostly just right-clicking for no rhyme or reason. So then we get to the left clicks. This is when I started thinking, okay, this is where we're going to see a little bit of a change. But we don't see the change. And I don't think it's mostly because of mechanics. I think it's because, I mean, mechanics are going to play a little bit into it, yes, which we can talk about later. But here's what I think. And you'll see it in 8 seconds. I think it's like 9 seconds from now. It's either 8 or 9 seconds from now when you'll see it. You're gonna start seeing it now. You're hunting for bubble targets. So when you start looking for someone to bubble, you stare at them or you stare near them. So I know you're not looking at things you're supposed to be shooting, but you're looking at your teammates looking to bubble, which tells me two things. You're not comfortable right here with what this cooldown is, so how long it takes for it to come back online. That means, like, you know, in your head, you count to yourself, like, okay, in 6 seconds, Fire Strike will be back online. I never have to look down here if know if my Fire Strike's online, because I know it's online or if it's not online, because I have a mental counter in my head that's constantly going and saying, okay, I just used Fire Strike, 6 seconds from now, I'll have it again. But here, though, I know you're staring at this because of instances like this right here, where you start staring at the car because you're looking for something to bubble, but you're staring at your what's it called? Your timer, because you do it right off cooldown. What's a good average energy for Zarya? In goats, like 100. In a game, like if you're talking about average energy throughout an entire game, I mean, I think you'd want to be shooting for like 60, but like if you're not really at least diamond or above, I'd start shooting for at least 50. Maybe I even might be saying that's too high. No, I don't think that's too high. Considering respawns and stuff like that. Pretty much every single fight when you get into, if you're running Rein Zarya and they're running Rein Zarya, you should at least be 80 energy at some point at the start of the fight. Or close, like 76, depending on how you used your bubbles. Like, every single fight should be somewhat, at some point, you're at 80 energy plus. You get what I'm saying? So, if every single time you're getting 40 energy out of both of your bubbles, you're starting to understand how you're supposed to be bubbling. If you're not getting that, or at least getting like 70 plus, you're probably not bubbling correctly. So it's like a really high ceiling to get to, but as that number starts to go up, if that's what you're looking at as stats, that means you're starting to make progress, and it's like you can keep going further with it. I'll answer the Halo stuff later, not right now.
By that? Yeah, there's their respawn coming behind. I'm not behind, but through the front.
Don't let him out. I'm not sure why you give up this Lucio fight. There's no reason to give up this fight in here. You kick his ass. Literally kick his ass. You're 80 energy. Beat his ass.
Yeah.
Hold on. Do we get another?
Let's all push out of that room because that's not a great place to be.
Technically, that room's not a bad place to be. But when you win the fight and they're stuck in there, that's a great place to be because you're killing them in that room and there's nothing they can do.
Yeah.
So you don't ever not go in that room. Like, you can go in that room if you get a pick or two. Absolutely. Depends. 25 average is bare minimum, but a lot of times it depends on how aggro your Rein is. Absolutely not. Absolutely not. I run back when goats was really becoming like powerful and we didn't really want to run goats, running Hammond Zarya comps and getting 80 energy minimum per fight on our Zarya. So 25 is not an average. Maybe 25 is average for maybe average plat, maybe. But if you're actually trying to really improve your Zarya and start to like really start to compare to the better Zaryas or start to like climb that ladder and start to get higher, you're shooting for much higher than 25. 25 is very low. 25 is you're like basically above wet noodle. So I don't. That is definitely not true.
You have a Reaper now?
So another bubble right there. That if you use this bubble when the Fire Strike came in, like, where is it coming? Right here. If you bubbled him right there, I'd be okay with it. But you had it on cooldown, so you bubble him right after. So it's like he doesn't get any value in his swings. So he goes to go forward, doesn't get much out of it. Did he block that? Nice, he blocked that. That was a good bubble. That was good. The self bubble, I know what it's for, so it's fine. That'd be much higher level stuff to bait a tire like that, so it's not a big deal.
Pushing right.
But the projected was good.
Stay, Alton.
Hold on, I heard it. I heard it. Ready? Ready? Here it is. Listen closely.
Coming back to point.
Stay, Alton.
Listen, I love you. I love you for that. You tried so fucking hard to save your Pharah's life. I heard that key just go spamming for it, so I like the effort. I like the effort, honestly. That was good effort for that. You just didn't have it on cooldown. It's kind of unlucky. Good job, though.
Mercy just rezzed.
Playing this really fun, but now he doesn't have a soul. I think switch off a soldier with a bomb.
There's a Zarya.
Ryan coming in.
That was a lucky shatter.
Oh, they're all shot.
That's as close as a shatter as it gets, because he got booped by it. Good bubble. That was a good one.
I've got grab ready.
Zarya was really low, but I didn't chase her because I would have backed up.
Sounds good.
I wouldn't say that. 25 is never acceptable. You can only hit 25 SWAT D.Va. I wouldn't say that. It just means that the bubble usage isn't what it's supposed to be. But that's learnable stuff. So if you're telling me if you hit diamond, right? If you played Offtank and you played diamond, if you got to diamond and you averaged 25 energy, that's pretty impressive. That means your tracking must be pretty good. Your mechanical skill with it would probably be pretty good. So that means if you start to learn to bubble a little bit better and start to understand how that works, then you might see a massive improvement in how much you can physically do per game. Like, I'm not the greatest DPS guy. I can probably play at like Masters DPS, but if I'm in like a GM game and I'm not playing main tank, my second go-to is off tank because I know how to bubble rotate and I know how to get high energy and have decent mechanics with it. But that's pretty much it. That's all I'm bringing to the table. Like, so, and then we're talking decent, right? So yeah, and that's with knowing it. So if I had good mechanics from the start, I'd probably play off tank more because you can go a lot on off. I mean, 25 is a specific game. 25 in a specific game is acceptable if conditions aren't great. I mean, games like that happen, right? Like, I'm not saying that, like, games will happen where you're not at, like, at 80 energy plus or 60 energy plus the whole game. That happens. That's fine. Like, but if you're, like, once in a blue moon or almost never having those games, that's different. That's where you have the problem. But of course, if there's times where it's like your team is running 5 DPS in a Zarya and they're running goats, you're probably averaging like 50. No, you're probably averaging like 15 energy a game because you'll get that good bubble on him and then he blows up, then they run you over and you're dead. Like, it happens. But I'm just saying, if you never can get to that level, that's a different problem.
Junk is no longer on point.
That's kind of unlucky for your Mercy.
Ryan low, Ryan 1.
He's still on point.
Good chase. I would have liked to see the right click finish there just because it's more burst damage. Yeah, even right there, like, you didn't need to bubble your junk right. I know why you did, but it just that kind of seeing that kind of stuff is telling me you're just bubbling off cooldown. Like, you just see it and you use it. You see it, you use it. You see it, you use it. And that means you're not going to have it in more opportune times, and then when you are going to use it, you might not be getting as much value out of them as you can. So it's like, you're at 100 energy. This is fantastic.
Okay, yeah, that's our far up.
The thing is about being 100 energy is, like, you can rip these off like it's like an E ability. Right? Like, this is fantastic when you're at 100 energy. You just rip these off all day long. But you've been on it the whole game, so that's okay. But you should win this fight with this graph. That's the greatest advantage of Zarya at high energy. Is that ability to pretty much use her Graviton Surge as like an E ability. It's on like a 35-second cooldown.
I was hoping to get at least one first. They'll just work to stall them.
Zarya behind, Zarya behind.
I do want to. I am curious right here. Oh no, that was too far back. So like right here when you're, actually I think your bubble before that was fine. I would have liked to know when your Pharah was barraging because you wanted to always try to bubble her and it was on cooldown. So
Zarya behind.
I am confused though why it takes you so long to realize this Zarya is probably
Zarya behind,
a threat.
Zarya behind.
Needs to die.
Zarya dead.
Little brain delay.
Oh, they can make it. Shit.
No come point.
My ult, I was at the comment.
Yeah, that's a silver tire if I've ever seen one.
Lucio on point.
So there is something that really concerns me though. There it is.
I think I should get it up with the Zarya on the other side.
I really just walked off.
So
Alright, I'm down.
coaching the silver pugs and like silver players and pugs, the biggest thing I've
Good
noticed
hold, good
with
hold.
silver players and around that elo, especially Zarya players, they refuse to grav when they have it. Refuse to use it, right? Because they don't want to be wasting it. They don't want to be that guy that blew the grav. They're they're afraid they're going to be thought of as throwing. They're going to be like whatever it is, right?
Hold.
There's a million things it could be. And they hold the grav the entire game. And then finally they get an opportunity where they think they're going to use it, and it's just they miss, or it's just not a great grav, like it's just thrown off to the side or something like that. And the reason for that is because one, you're not learning when to grav anyways, because you're not using it enough of these games to realize like when you should be grabbing and when you shouldn't be grabbing. But on top of that too, is you're thinking about it so hard that you just don't use it. Right? Then once you get to about high plat, low diamond, that's when you start to have the problem of everybody just hits Q the second. Like it's literally it's blue, hit Q. Like the second this thing turns blue, it's like a mini game to say like that was the worst arrow I've ever done. It's a mini game to say how fast can I hit this Q button? Seriously. And then you have to start talking about dialing it back. But silver is the area, or like silver to gold to bronze area, nobody ults ever. It's just never used. So like that Junkrat who tired at the end, I'm pretty sure he had tire the whole game. I think he used it twice. He used it once earlier on where you bubbled yourself, and then he used it right there. It's like that was the time he thought was most appropriate to use it.
Sounds good.
So once you get up there and like you start understanding that like a high energy Zarya is going to farm grab pretty quickly, don't be afraid to use it. I'd rather you see blowing grabs left and right than holding it the whole game and never using it, and then when you finally use it, get nobody, because then that just doesn't help anyone. Set up a macro to spam Q as soon as it's available.
I'm following you, Ryan.
Yeah, pretty much. That's pretty much what it seems like. Okay.
I'm gonna orb up there and see if I can get some damage, but if you get any deals, just call it out. They got a badge.
So, okay. This is,
There and see if I can get some
I'm just going to say, for some of this stuff, refer back to the beginning of this video where we talked about what these bubbles are.
damage.
Because a bubble like this, you just bubble yourself, but your Ryan shield is up. You got 0 energy for yourself, but you got 40 off of him. The bubble on him was great. Probably would have saved it for this charge, but at least you bubbled him at a good time to get energy. Fine by me. The self-bubble, though, is where the issue lies. Okay, push through by yourself, you're gonna die.
Bastion's right side.
So any energy that you now built up is now gone. Because you're about to reset. How dare he? The fucking audacity. They left?
Versus shield down.
I just feel... What?
Coming in, coming in.
Hello?
Yeah, they're on point. Do we have anybody else on
They
point?
pretty much have to, actually.
Okay, Bastion set up in the middle.
Okay, let's talk about that real quick, okay? If you ever do that in a game that's past the point where there's autopilot players playing and you're playing above bots, if you push through by yourself against a Bastion team, then after you've lost your Reinhardt and you have energy as a Zarya, you are like a fly next to a zapper. You should be dead. every single time. But apparently the zapper just flew away for some reason, and that doesn't make sense to me. That's just illogical. So you should have died there. You should have died there, but you didn't. So we're just going to move on. But just as a note for the future, I wouldn't do that.
Okay, Bastion set up on the room.
So the big problem I have here is because we've gotten multiple bubble rotations off against a Bastion. A Bastion! A Bastion is like free energy. Like, it's literally just a giant sign of, here, take my energy. We're at 0.
Room.
See, it's stuff like this right here, where you take damage, you're taking damage here, that would be the time to bubble. Right when those 2 nades blow up, that's probably 35 energy, but you bubble after they've left.
I don't really see the Bastion. Is he inside?
Yeah, he's inside.
It's killing your ability to really get anything done.
Shields, right?
Also, the downtime here, well, you're not really... So, you're low energy here, right? But here's the problem I have, is you're not really shooting constantly or doing anything after this point, right here. This is where you kind of just stop doing anything. Like, you're not shooting, you're just looking. Shoot right click, just looking, just looking. You're not doing anything at all right now. So, that's time where you should be just keep holding your left click, keep holding your right click. Never stop doing things in Overwatch. Yes, there are times where you should stop doing things in Overwatch, like if you're on the flank and you're waiting for a perfect opportunity to uncloak and get an EMP, or if you're staging something, but right where you're at right now, just keep doing things. Like, you should be shooting constantly, you should be right-clicking constantly, because you're not really at that point where I know you're setting up a play and stopping shooting. It just stops shooting to stop shooting. So, it's bad habits to have. Another self-bubble, not taking any damage. That one was a little bit better, but...
I have ults too now.
Alright, there's one pick. I'm just gonna get him.
That's where the bubble needed to go on, though, was the barrage. That was the big one.
This puts them to point and I'll heal you, because I have...
You Ryan got hard debated by the bubble. Not your fault, but...
I'm gonna go jump and charge his ult.
See, now you got some energy now. Now you got something to work with. So, yeah, I would have peeked towards the Bastion if you were going to start taking some damage there and just get a little extra energy out of it, but the self bubble was okay. Stuff like this, though, these bubbles right here, stop! Don't do those. Seriously. Because these bubbles right here, like, these are bubbles that tell me that you're autopiling in the middle of a game. You're not thinking about what you're doing. You're just bubbling him just to bubble him. You saw something walk by, you had a cooldown, you used it and kept walking. That's all that is, and that hurts me to see, because that tells me that you're not thinking about it. Because that's not mechanics, that's not game knowledge. That's straight up, there is nothing there. Nothing there to bubble. Nothing there to go near. No energy to be found. He wasn't in any danger. It was just use the cooldown because I had the ability to use it, and that's not what we want to be doing. So, I'll try to chill out a little bit on the bubbles, but I'm going to stop every time I see them, just so when you do watch this whole thing, that was good. You'll see every single time it's done, so it's not like, oh, I just did it one time there, or I did it one time there. It's like, no, it's consistently about every time.
Grab ready.
I'm sorry, I can follow my look pretty fast.
Coming through.
They have a junk up on the roof.
Yo, Pog, Spark, thank you for following, man. This is actually good right clicks. These are good right clicks. I like those. Putting some pressure on them. Not a bad bubble. Probably would have waited when you go to push in here, but honestly, I'm okay with it if you play it slow like this, which you are. So what do we do with this grab? This is what we need to see. So what are we looking for? That's a pretty big grab. That's a pretty big grab. So let's talk about how we're going to make this effective. So the biggest thing with this grav is, remember we talked about earlier about the couple different types of bubbles? It's one of the different types of bubbles is being able to enable your Reinhardt. And there's also the part about saving for combos and enabling your Reinhardt. So when you go to look for this grav here, you're going to want to bubble him so then he can do more damage into it.
Okay,
He gets absolutely melted when this grav comes out.
I'm grabbing.
Bubble's already been used, he just gets obliterated. Probably would have waited for it. See, the thing is, if he does die like that and you hadn't used the bubble yet, then you could bubble somebody else. That's the big key, is you save the bubble for whoever you can help with the combo. For an example of that is like Pharah, right? So you bubble Pharahs while they're barraging, because barrage is pretty much, I press Q to respawn, but take a few people with me. So in this case, where you don't have the Pharah, or you don't have the Reinhardt close enough, you might have to bubble somebody else. But you want to be able to try to enable somebody.
Oh my god.
And then of course yourself do damage into it. So having the grab be that far away is a bit of an issue, but it was at least you used it. At least it was like you understood what you were looking for. I'm honestly okay with that. On the defense, I'd just like to see you use more grabs more often. So, like I said, I'd rather see you using them more actively right now than not using them at all. So I'm okay with that. There's a Bastion behind you. Did you forget about that? You forgot about that, didn't you? Where's the exact moment where you see this Bastion?
Yeah,
This is where the grab is, right?
I think this is reasonable to grab. I'm grabbing.
Let's not let them get away with this shit.
I was just off. He's there, right? So fast forward about 15 seconds.
This is only 1 point.
20 seconds maybe? You get the nice pick. But don't remember there's Bastion.
The Bastion's left side now. Watch your back.
That's not stuff I can help with. That's the kind of stuff that it just kind of like playing the game sometimes without thinking, you know? Because if you don't think about what you're doing constantly, especially with like the bubbles is the biggest telltale sign for me, then stuff like this when it happens, there's not much I can say because you had the information, you had the knowledge, he was there. If anything, he was actually easy to farm because he didn't have a shield with him, so you could just turn to the left with 100 energy and just left click him and then right click to finish him. But you just ignored him because whatever reason. All right, Trills, take it easy, man. Thanks for stopping by. So I think you guys, you just draw this out.
Can we touch?
But
Hanzo, let's just go in and
stuff like that.
Touch if you can.
Before we start talking mechanics, before we start talking positioning, stuff like that,
Okay.
like needs to start being thought about and being done more actively. Because yes, I mean some things with mechanics could obviously be worked on. Yes, the positioning of like coming in and out of fights could be worked on. And of course, it's going to be different at this rank than it would be at different other ranks because you're going to get punished far, far less here. For example, when the Winston just let you go over on the side with the rest of the team. Yeah, and draw. You're going to not get punished for stuff here, so you can get away with a lot more. But I think if you actually just thought about the game more in the middle of the game, like thought about, okay, why am I bubbling this person? And okay, if I bubble myself here, what's going to happen? Okay, I'm going to grab here. Actually, with the grab, just use it. Just that's the one I just want to see you use more often. But more specifically with your cooldowns and how you walk around and stuff like that, you had to just be constantly thinking, it's like, okay, they had a Bastion during this last fight. He didn't die, right? So the way you know he didn't die is by this thing right here. You know he didn't die because he did not pop up on this kill feed at all. So you have to be thinking to yourself, hey, Bastion's still alive over here somewhere. that's someone I should probably be looking for. And so a good example of that is like Reinhardt's. Like if you got to a choke and there's not a Reinhardt standing there, there's typically a Reinhardt behind you about to shatter you. And so like they got to do it quick. You know what I mean? So like you take a shatter like just on the Reinhardt and Zarya if they're at the choke, because they'll figure out very quickly that you're probably standing behind them hidden. So like stuff like this is stuff that should be constantly monitored. And this is how you start thinking about the game. This isn't even about ult tracking. This isn't even about like shot calling. This is straight up just paying attention to what's happening. And so that's kind of stuff I can't really teach. That's stuff I'd like to just show you that you're not currently doing. And then how do we move from there? And as we start to move from there, we can start to talk about hows, whys, and ways we can start to improve on some of those things. So it's not always just mechanics, because yes, there are some mechanical things here that could probably be used. We can start talking about grinding those out later. But for right now, that is the number one more than anything, especially with like watching how the bubbles were used and remembering where people were after our fight. Hey guys, if you want to stay up to date with the latest, you can find me on Twitch, Twitter, or join Discord. And if you're enjoying the content, don't forget to like and subscribe. For more information on how to submit a VOD for review of coaching, please check the information in the description below. And as always, thanks for watching!